we've talked a little bit, not in great detail, about this Operation Jade Helm that is happening down in the American Southwest, and there are some folks who are quite outspoken about it. And so I wanted to get somebody on who seems to know, what the perspective is from the people, at least in Texas, who are concerned about this. General Jerry Boykin is with us. He's the Executive Vice President of the Family Research Council. He's one of the original members of the U.S. Army's Delta Force. He later commanded the Army's Green Berets and the Special Welfare Center and School. FRC.org is the website. General Boykin, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be with you.
Thanks for joining us. What are the concerns?
Well, I'll tell you what my concerns are. My concerns are that when you have a pattern of military exercises in the civilian communities that are as overt as these things are, that you are actually desensitizing the American public to the presence of active duty military. And this is, we have to be clear that it is not the first time that the military has exercised in the cities across America or on private lands or even government lands like BLM lands. I've done that for years, and you can go all the way back to 1940 and what they called the Louisiana maneuvers, where most of northern Louisiana, had troops deployed all over it as they were preparing for the inevitable entry into World War II. But there has been an increase in it, and I think that the real danger here is that the American public becomes desensitized to seeing this kind of thing ongoing, and that, obviously that could set the stage for something more nefarious. Yeah. In the end, though, I don't see this as being anything other than an exercise. I understand people's concern, but I don't see this as being resulting in martial law.
So your concern, I would say, kind of parallels, and I understand it, kind of parallels my concern that with the security theater that we have at our airports, which still wouldn't stop 19 guys with box cutters, plastic-handled box cutters with the blades stitched into their belts, which is how 9/11 happened, is desensitizing us to basically being cattle. Is that a reasonable comparison?
I think it is, and if it was, I hate to say this, and it's a really sad commentary, but if it was any other administration, I would have fewer concerns about this than I do under this administration. And the reality is, people have looked at how they've been targeted and abused by the IRS, by the National Security Agency, by the Department of Justice. They look at all of these things and they realize that this administration has in fact abused its power. They've usurped our Constitution. And so it is logical for people to be very concerned about an exercise like this, particularly when you consider that there is an all-out assault on gun ownership in this country right now. So it makes sense that people would be concerned.
So you think it all comes down to Obama being in the White House?
I think it does, yes. I think it does, and I think it has everything to do with what he's done since he's been in the White House. It's not just that he's in the White House, it's what he's done in terms of the IRS, the NSA, the Department of Justice, the DEA.
So with regard to those, with the IRS, I assume you're talking about Lois Lerner and that bunch looking at conservative agencies that want to have nonprofit status. With regard to the other, what were the other things that you mentioned?
Well, you've got NSA.
Okay. Oh, yeah, the Ed Snowden revelations. But didn't all that start in the Bush administration?
Well, the Bush, I'm not sure what you're saying. What you're saying is
super snooping on us.
Edward Snowden was exposed in the Bush administration. No, that's not the case.
No, but I mean, what Ed Snowden exposed started around 2011 or 2001, 2002, did it not? I mean, this is kind of a two-administration thing.
Well, yeah, I know he was collecting all that information. Yes, absolutely. He was collecting that information.
So you're just concerned
that
that you can't trust Obama with the information, but you did trust Bush with the information. Is that accurate?
No, I didn't.
You don't think either one of them should be snooping on us?
I beg your pardon?
You don't think either one of them should be snooping on us, Bush or Obama?
Should be
snooping,
honest?
Snooping on us.
The NSA. I see what you're saying,
Yeah.
No, as a matter of fact, I've been actually opposed to much of what came out in the Patriot Act from the very beginning, because I'm not a libertarian, but I do have some libertarian leanings when it comes to privacy, and I think that it is a violation of the Constitution. So I've had reservations about that regardless of what administration.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think that it's libertarian, Democratic, Republican. I think this is fundamental American. I think the founders are rolling over in their graves right now as a result of the way that Section 215 has been interpreted by two administrations and the and the agencies associated with them. Just a quick question. You had a brief moment of fame back a decade or more ago when you made the comment that our God is bigger than their God. Speaking of Islam, I'm wondering your reflections on that time, and if you think that was an unwise statement, or if you feel even stronger about it. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Do I think that was an unwise statement?
Yeah.
You ever said anything you wish you could take back?
I have many times, sir.
Yeah. Well, that's where I would categorize that statement. No.
Yeah.
I am a committed Christian. I do believe that the people that are perpetrating a lot of bad things all over the world are motivated by an ideology that they call a religion, that being radical Islam. But that statement that you just asked me about, if I could go back in time, I never would have said that.
Yeah. We both got a long list of those, I'm sure. In the minute we have left, what would you say to the more hysterical, and I don't mean that in the negative way, people down south who are following the narrative that that there's these Walmarts and they want to round us up and all that kind of thing?
Right.
What would you say to them?
I'd say, remember that the military are your sons and daughters, and you have to believe that this is a deliberate effort to execute martial law is based on an assumption that there is not a single patriot left in the leadership of our military or in our special operations. There are patriots there. I know their leaders. This is not going to result in martial law.
Right. Has Posse Comitatus been made the law of the land again? I know it was suspended for a while during the Bush administration.
No, Posse Comitatus has never been suspended.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, it's never been suspended. Now, there is a way around it, and that's called the Insurrection Act.
Right.
But Posse Comitatus is just as much enforced today as it was when it was passed. It's never been suspended. It has been abrogated by the Insurrection Act a couple of times.
Right. So, but it's still, this is a law that was passed, for our listeners who might not know what we're talking about, this is a law that was passed after the Civil War that basically said American troops will never again aim their guns at American citizens. And you could argue Kent State was a violation of that, although I don't know. But I can't think of any other big ones. Anyhow, General Jerry Boykin, the Executive Vice President of the Family Research Council, FRC.org is the website. One of the original members of the U.S. Army's Delta Force, later commanded the Army's Green Berets and Special Welfare Center and School. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Glad to be with you.